You're safe to trust this moment right now. You're safe to just settle down, relax into it, and just ease into it. But why can't you do that? What are some of the things that are actually preventing you from being able to do that? If you're watching this video, I'm going to assume that you're in a safe environment. There's nothing to defend yourself from. There's nothing coming to attack you. Your belly has food in it. You don't have to go and hunt for food so you can survive the next 24 hours. I'm going to assume that right now in this experience, you have energy that can be put into something other than simply surviving. And when we begin to really look at our experience, at our own internal world of thoughts and feelings and beliefs and emotions and instincts and tensions, when we really do an honest inquiry into this, we find that a lot of the suffering that we experience in our life is totally self-generated. A lot of the suffering that we experience in our life is something that we inflict upon ourselves unconsciously. We deny that we do so, and we look for the cause of it outside. And of course, there's the reality of survival, and you have to get food, and there's pain, and all this stuff. But roughly 90 to 95% of the suffering that we experience, especially in the comforts of the modern world, are things that we are actually doing to ourselves. Of course, we can make our environment better to suit us, and that's a very valid thing to do. I would very deeply recommend having a nice environment for you to be in that actually supports this kind of consciousness work. But it's unavoidable. The fact that we create the overwhelming majority of our suffering is just unavoidable. Again, I'm assuming that if you're watching this video, you actually have the energy to put into something other than just survival, other than just shelter and food and sex and money and protecting yourself from physical threats. Right now in this experience, you're actually safe. But why can't you just settle into the moment? Why can't you just learn to surrender to it? What's really stopping you in your own experience other than you? And what are you associating the cause of your inability to surrender with? Because I don't have enough money right now, my bank account's not how I want to look, and maybe I'm not getting the connections that I want. I need more approval. I need more food. That's what it is. I gotta eat more. I need more entertainment. And we just kind of look for the antidote to our self-created suffering outside. So when we begin to actually examine our experience, we find that we're the ones who are generating a lot of our problems. And it kind of keeps us in this illusion of like we're progressing in life and we're actually going somewhere, when in actuality, we're kind of just like on the hamster wheel. We're just going around in circles. Our conditioning is just playing itself out over and over and over again. The cycles of our lives are just playing themselves out over and over and over again in this sort of mechanical and robotic-like fashion. And here we are, stuck in it. Until we begin to actually look into some of the mechanics of our own internal world. Look into some of the patterns of our psyche that are actually giving rise to our experience of our life. Look into some of the beliefs that control our behavior. Look into some of the tensions in our body that get us to kind of react. Look into some of the emotions that we don't want to feel, that get us to be avoidant, that get us to distract ourselves and escape our life, essentially. The emotions that we don't want to feel that drive us to just scroll on social media endlessly, mindlessly, to absorb more entertainment, to want to have even more sex, to want to have more money. Nothing wrong with any of that stuff whatsoever. It's just that we're really deeply just kind of caught in this illusion that when I get what I want, now I'll be okay. Now I can settle down. Now I can actually just settle into the moment and be okay. And we don't really realize that we end up training our mind to be chasing more. And the very state of chasing more is itself suffering. That itself, this impulse to just want to escape what's happening now, this itself is the biggest cause of most of our suffering. And of course, there's a very valid impulse to want to improve the conditions of your life. Let's say if you're in poverty, to get food, or if you have a leaky roof, to fix it, or to get into a healthy relationship, right? None of the survival-based desires are bad or wrong or to be ashamed of or any of this stuff, but to actually be integrated and really studied and like thoroughly learned and mastered. But then it just gets to a point where we're comfortable. We have energy to start going beyond survival. And we don't have to just remain stuck where we're at, like we often do. And then it's just natural for us to want to raise our consciousness. There comes a point in a human being's maturity and psychological development where the desire to raise consciousness simply begins to manifest. And it's deeply valued. And not everyone can value this for good reasons. Of course, if you can't find the food you need to survive for the next 24 hours, to hell with consciousness. You're too concerned about feeding yourself. As it should be. Or if you're too lacking in your self-esteem and achievement needs, then you have to go and achieve some things and get first place and be the winner and be the best. Right? Play to win. But after you just start exhausting all this stuff, relationships, right? You get into one after another, you realize that you're still suffering. You're still struggling to actually navigate it. You're still struggling to find a really good fit for you. After all this stuff just gets exhausted, and you realize that it's not really bringing you lasting satisfaction, what is left? What is left other than to actually look into your own mind? To start valuing your own internal world. What's left other than to start becoming aware and to start raising your own consciousness and to start putting high quality information of various kinds into your mind, to start interacting with like-minded people, to start really seeing how valuable this kind of work is. And this is just a natural thing that occurs as humans evolve, as we just raise our psychological development. So I'm going to ask you the question again, what is actually preventing you from being able to really rest into this experience? Of course, the answer is you. Now, if we begin to examine what exactly is going on inside of you that's preventing that, we're going to find a lot of complex phenomena that's all interconnected, like beliefs that are tied to certain emotions, which are tied to tensions in the body, which are tied to sensations that we don't really want to feel, tied to impulses and instincts to avoid and repress or grasp onto things and cling on to things. We start finding this like web of interconnected conditionings creating this continuous experience of unnecessary completely unneeded suffering. I think something that's a little scary about this is that we're generating our own suffering. We generally don't even know how until we start to really do some research, right? Read some books, watch videos. Don't underestimate reading a lot of books. Right? We're doing that to just have some guides for our contemplations so that we can kind of get pointed in some good directions by people who have been exactly where we're at. And then just really thoroughly applying awareness to oneself after that, right? Guides for contemplation, so you're put in this sort of needed direction so that you're not kind of like lost and you don't really know where to go. And then just kind of focusing your attention on the specific things that need to get highlighted so that a lot of the patterns that actually keep you stuck in your life can just begin to dismantle. Kind of like if we take away that foundational aspect to those patterns and everything starts to crumble down. If we destroy the foundation, everything that's built on that foundation comes crumbling down. So when we look into the things that are actually preventing you from just kind of surrendering into your experience, I think a really important thing to realize is how much your body is actually preventing you from doing that. The physical tensions in the body. Because we like to hold our body and our mind as separate, and most of us experience our body to be the sort of object of our experience. We don't feel ourselves present in our arms or within our skull or within our legs. We kind of just mostly live in this sort of abstract realm of just thought, just lost in thought, kind of like sleepwalking through life, and we're lucky enough to not bump into anything. So let's remove this sort of artificially constructed separation between the body and the mind. And then this starts to shift our whole perspective on the body from stupid hunk of meat, object of our experience, to wonderfully intelligent, energetic system. And your body's always giving you all the messages that are actually telling you exactly how you're refusing to surrender, mainly in the form of tensions and sensations. Parts of the body that you don't feel, parts of the body that feel numb, parts of the body where there's habitual tension. Raised shoulders, tense gut, pockets of pain maybe in the gut or a numb heart. The body is naturally supposed to just feel very alive and full of sensation. It's supposed to be literally a sensational experience. This sensational experience is literally the basis of actual fulfillment. But most of us aren't experiencing that. Most of us experience ourselves highly separated, distinct from our bodies, not grounded in it, not really inhabiting it, not living from within it, numb to it. Not even beginning to understand its intelligence, its pure wisdom. Seeing it just as some machine, some just dumb biological machine that just pumps blood and poops and digests tacos, and that's it. When it's really not that. Your heart has neurons, it's talking to you. Every single part of your body is highly interconnected. And I think especially through the practice of meditation and certain kinds of meditations, Vipassana being a very good one, it becomes undeniably true that the body's deeply intelligent and is actually far more intelligent than our ordinary thinking mind. Far wiser than our sort of lost in thoughts state. The state of being lost in thoughts is actually just kind of caused by disconnect from the body. Lack of presence in sensations, lack of presence in the body, essentially. Nothing wrong with thoughts. You want to integrate thoughts. You don't want to like throw away the mind entirely. But again, there's this sort of difference between living in the body and then having thoughts and then using the mind as a tool versus being lost in thoughts all day and having the tool use you. instead of you being the master, which is the sort of rightful place that you belong, you become the servant. It becomes backwards. So I really just want to urge you to just very honestly and openly investigate your experience as to what is really stopping me from surrendering into this experience. Maybe it's this tension that I'm habitually holding here, and I don't even really know how I'm holding it. Sometimes I can't even relax it. It's so habitual. I've been doing it over and over and over and over again to the point where I don't even know how to stop. I don't even know how to stop anymore. It's so habitual that it's hard for me to even like hit the brakes and then like loosen up. Maybe it's certain feelings in the body. Maybe it's beliefs that if I finally get this experience, or when this happens, when this changes, then I'll be okay. And I really want to point out the interconnections between all this stuff. These are all very interconnected. The beliefs have emotional charges that get stored in the body. The tensions hold themselves there so you don't have to feel emotions. Those tensions are blocking the flow of sensations so that the flow of energy in your body just kind of gets halted due to fear, essentially. So again, just kind of noticing how interconnected all this stuff is. So this video, I'm trying to just kind of cause a particular effect in you, right? This is like the cause, and then I'm hoping that the effect is just a little bit more of an exploration of your own experience, your own being, just some more reflection. Lastly, I talk about this a lot in my videos when it comes to meditation or reading a lot of books or raising your consciousness or personal growth. I want to urge you to have a sort of multi-decade year vision, not to the point where you need every single detail planned out, but just this kind of idea in your mind of like, what will my life look like if I actualize this, if I'm consistent with my meditation every day for the next 20 years, if I'm doing retreats, if I'm reading a lot of books, if I'm continuously filling up my mind every day with some good information, if I'm learning how to set boundaries, if I'm learning about relationships, if I'm learning about how to find a career that actually is an expression of my own authentic self, my own values, my thoughts, my personality, my psychology, my emotions, what I can handle, what I can't handle, my energy levels, etc. Just having this sort of long-term vision is really important because it kind of adds as this sort of bonus motivator of like, what happens if I don't do this? Right? You got the vision, then you got the anti-vision of now let's look at the world where we simply don't do any of that, where we go to the job we hate. We find a relationship that doesn't really fit us. We never really take good care of our bodies. We're not very mindful. We don't meditate. We spend too much time scrolling on our phones every day for hours. Right? Then you get that sort of 20-year vision, and it's like a very depressing, numb, very sad lifestyle, very sad existence, a very ignorant existence, very numb, dull, inauthentic, missing the beauty of life. It's a recipe for a terrible life, essentially. So again, I'm hoping this just has a particular effect on you, and nothing more. Just trying to spark a little bit of reflection in you and a little bit more awareness in you of the situation that you're really in here in life. How complex it is, how important it actually is to investigate your own mind, how that's going to impact your life and your external world. The importance of actually deeply studying life with actual teachers and masters and books, and just watching life without judgment through meditation. Learning to just be harmonious within your body. Take good care of it so it feels alive. It feels like there's actually something going on there rather than it just being numb. It's the sensational experience, quite literally. The body is a sensational experience. Just so many sensations arising and passing and flowing and moving. And this becomes quite obvious when the tensions in the body can kind of surrender. You allow the energy to move. You start to just apply awareness to it and live from within the internal space of it. It starts to like come online almost. It starts to just like boot back up. It starts to just really feel how it's supposed to feel. It's supposed to feel healthy and full of sensation and energy. That's like the natural state of the body. To be this sort of alive and like fantastic sort of experience. Allowing every emotion to arise and pass. Allowing every sensation to arise, freely flow, and then pass. Rather than it always being so restricted and repressed and all this stuff. This is a very sort of artificial and manipulated way of existing. How about the impulse to always be in control of experience? What if you kind of just surrendered that for now, even if only for a minute? What if you just practiced letting go and then just like trusting experience to unfold on its own without you needing to do anything? Just letting it guide you. What if you just kind of practiced that? You didn't have to overthink everything. You could trust your instincts. You could trust your authentic impulses and just simply act on them without needing to gaslight yourself or doubt yourself. You didn't always have to be asserting yourself into life all the time. You could actually kind of step back, ease up, and from a more conscious and grounded space, allow your most organic action to just naturally come through. What if you could do that? Does that not sound pretty good? And what's the alternative now? Being kind of hypervigilant, always needing to control, being kind of tense, it's kind of neurotic, it's sickening essentially, it's sickness. That's the alternative. And there's a broad spectrum between health and sickness here, right? But the latter was more on the side of sickness. And the former was more on the side of health. Just what do you really want for yourself? That's it for this video. If you're interested in working with me, you can apply to do so. Link is in the pinned comment. Take it easy.